welcome back to my channel. I'm just going to do a chit chat video. So I was trying to think of what to kind of talk about, and I went back and kind of looked at some of the comments y'all have made and, you know, the community tab and all that. So I'm kind of basing this video off of that. I have no idea what the title will be, so I'm not even going to make any kind of reference to that. But what I was thinking of was the Charlotte Mason homeschool mindset of perfection. And it's not exactly how I wanted to word it, but it came out of my mouth that way, so we're going to roll with it. I think it's really hard for parents to begin a Charlotte Mason education, and some personalities really come out within a Charlotte Mason education. I don't do things strictly by the book. I have friends that are very much by the book, and their education is, it's not that they like judge others, it's not what I'm trying to say, but it's, well, that's not how it was intended to be, you need to do it this way. And isn't it funny how it's kind of like that within like a spiritual setting as well? That so often we as new Christians want to do everything by the book to the letter of the T. I mean, even Paul had this issue with eating unclean things and all that. And some of them were really these were stumbling blocks for some, and he's like, if this is a stumbling block for them, don't make it an issue. Just, you know the truth and you're stronger, so you do it. But I feel like a lot of parents or teachers or educators or whatever you want to call it, purists, kind of take that mentality and really just, it's almost like you either do it right or you don't do it at all. Rather than this is a growth mindset of this is where we are and this is how we're getting there. So it may not look exactly perfect in a Charlotte Mason aspect. It may not exactly have your touch to it. It could be a number of things. It really does depend on your personality. But we've almost gone to the extreme that if everything doesn't look a certain way, that it must not be the same thing. Which is, again, kind of interesting if you think about it in the aspect of, Christianity, religion. I mean, don't we all have a little bit of a different look to our walk with God? Now, I know I'm comparing apples and oranges here, but in a sense, like, we do this with all kinds of things, but it's almost as if when it comes to education, it has to look a certain way, otherwise it's not being done right. And when I was really just going over my goals video that I made and really thinking about, a month has passed, now we're in February, how have I, accomplished these goals? And it's like, maybe we don't have a good rhythm going every day. Maybe we don't have narrations happening for every subject. Maybe all these other things aren't happening, but one of the things that I have been working on more consistently, more diligently, is the habit of obedience, the habit of putting a full attention into it. And for me, I'm working on the habit of not yelling, which I've been getting plenty of opportunity to practice this, let me tell you. So if you were to walk into my home tomorrow and were to see how we would do a homeschool day, I don't think you would think that we would be very Charlotte Mason-y at all based on what you see. To be honest, I wouldn't either. I look up the hashtag Charlotte Mason and see these things all over Instagram. If you look up mine, they look nothing like that. We'll have rotten stuff open out. We will have boys groaning over having to write a simple sentence. I have a daughter, doesn't play an instrument. We don't have nature journaling going on every day. We did have a lot of art going on last week. And nature journaling is awesome, and I would like to get back into that. But, to be honest, it's pretty low on my list because I want the habit of diligence and good work over loving to create art. That doesn't mean I'm excluding it, but it does mean that's what I'm working on. So in the past month, looks nothing like a good Charlotte Mason homeschool. Books are being read aloud. We're loving it. So a literature-based homeschool, absolutely. We're still going through that. We're still loving that. We're still, that is a part of who we are, and that will never change. But that doesn't mean that got 3 different gray socks here of 3 different sizes. I was not thinking when I bought those. I think when there's a heart desire to follow a Charlotte Mason method with a love of learning, I think in the heart of every parent that is actually why they are choosing something and what Charlotte Mason is known for. But I don't think it's just a Charlotte Mason education that you have to use in order to get that love of learning. So then you start breaking things out differently. Okay, another thing that Charlotte Mason has is a complete curriculum based on habits. It's actually a method, it's not a curriculum. You have your method, and you want to basically build on a love of learning. And you want to go into the next step of a Charlotte Mason. And as a beginner, it'll probably go into something more of short lessons, less textbook. And to be honest, I don't know if I've ever really grown up in a textbook heavy house, so it's a little difficult for me to say, this is what it looks like, and now this is what it's going to look like. Because I don't know what the other thing looked like. Did we have textbooks? Sort of. But not the stuff that I see in schools today. I never grew up with that. Our textbooks were Apology of Science, Easy Grammar. Is that a textbook? I don't know. A Dry Way of Doing Things? Who knows? It's not something I can really point specifically and say, this is what we used to do, now this is how we do it. I can only tell you what we've done, with even the rod and staff, and I've talked about it so much. That's something that really is my husband, and I have to say that even with my frustrations with it, it is a pretty good solid program. It's just very dry for me, which I think is what you're trying to stay away with Charlotte Mason education. But the kids still mind it. They love it. And you know what? Maybe for a certain personality, something like that is going to be fantastic. But what I can do with textbooks or non-textbooks is try to help those beginner ones out there and say, look, here's what I do. Here's where we're struggling. Here's where we're making it work. Here's what Charlotte Mason said and how I'm going to try to do that. So Charlotte Mason said grammar is best to learn by, saying it in action, and then you start teaching principles. Dude, I am not a Charlotte Mason teacher in the sense that I worked at her PE and U schools. So I don't know the terminology. I feel like I've had this conversation before, but maybe not. But I don't know the terminology at all. I know a noun, but even still, sometimes I've gotten those wrong. I know a verb, and again, sometimes I've gotten those wrong. But the basics, yeah. So I don't think I could sit down heard a scream, make sure the kids are okay. I don't think I could sit down and say that this is the way we're writing, or dictation or narration or whatever. And then this is why we're putting an adjective here. And this kind of sentence is this. And this is what we're building on with this. And this needs to go into the... So, with that, I'm very thankful to programs that will teach my kids the name of stuff. At the same time, you're still trying to learn these terminologies. And I don't really know how to teach that. That's okay. Again, another Charlotte Mason principle is that the teacher is prepared to give the lesson. Well, I don't have just one... I don't just have one set of... I know I'm going to be cutting that part out that just happened, but I have no idea where it was. It goes at being prepared and large family and preparing. That is another thing with Charlotte Mason, is that we are not just teachers. We are moms. In some cases, we're entrepreneurs. We are the embodiment of a Proverbs 31 woman, which, by the way, that's a whole nother topic. You don't wake up a complete Proverbs 31 woman. There are different seasons in life that, yeah. Anyway, a lot of her methods, you have to adapt to a family setting. Not a Victorian times with servants and nannies and kids going off to school. Because of that setting, it is understandable why she put so much onto the mothers to be a part of it, because family was important. And I think she was seeing how family was getting pulled away, and she wanted to bring it back. And she was absolutely right. And that's why we made this decision to homeschool, right? So we could bring the family back together. But now, in a sense, we're being pulled apart in different directions, that the family is no longer working as a unit. We're kind of trying to balance so much out that it's kind of starting to crumble. Relationships are kind of struggling and things like that. And this is something that I'm seeing within my own home, and watching and seeing others and hearing from you guys is kind of happening within your own home. And I think that's why one of the things that she was so focused on was habits, is because with those habits in place, you've got kind of a foundation that you're building, and then you start building up with the academics. The living books, you've got character being built up, and so all these little things put into place that when the academics come, you've got those strong foundation holds. Kind of like what Deuteronomy talks about with putting God and your values that are important to you as your doorpost foundation. So now that we're kind of, anyway, I finished my laundry, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up. Again, it was just a chit-chat video. It's kind of more just sit, let's have a cup of coffee, let's chit-chat. There really is no teaching in this video at all. Maybe don't do as I say, do as I should kind of message here. The family has to be the beginning point of any education. Charlotte Mason, Robinson, classical, etc. Charlotte Mason then builds upon a love of learning, the short lessons, the variety of subjects, educating the whole child, not trying to form a child, but pull from a child. And in a sense, you know, you're not going to take a child and try to create a lawyer from it if the heart of that child is to be a teacher. That kind of aspect. You're going to try to pull the lawyer from the child. You're not going to try to force a teacher into the child. Which I think is very interesting today, especially in our STEM-minded world. You know, STEM academics is so high right now. Anywhere you go, science, technology, engineering, mechanics or math or something like that. You know, everything is like STEM. Give your kids it's STEM. And maybe your kid is Complete opposite, but here we are trying to force something and not pull. So there's your heart of a Charlotte Mason education, is to kind of approach all these things. So you've got your foundation that we're working on. That's what we're working on right now, is just to start going back to the foundation of the house that's kind of beginning to crumble and make it strong again. In our academics, does it look right? I don't know. I just know that I'm listening to more of my children. I'm not flipping all over the place. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to listen more to my children, not as a, what do you think about this today kind of mindset. It's more, I'm trying to listen to their frustrations. I'm trying to listen to some of the other things that they're dealing with. And then I am trying to figure out how to build upon that. My boys love to be outside. My oldest son, not my oldest, but my oldest son, is 10 years old, and honestly, he really does need to get more focused on his school. He just wants to be outside and dig all day. And so I try to turn our day around by saying, what if we got up and just started homeschool? You know, I don't like to do it before 9, but what if we just get up and get it out of the way, and so that you have more homeschool time later on, and then the rest of us, when we start at 9, that's your ending time. That's not your beginning time. This is only day 2, so I can't really tell you if that's going to work or not. It was definitely harder today than it was yesterday. Yesterday was all new and exciting, and today it was just like, oh, we're back to school again. But it does need to happen. It is important. You can't just dig all day. And the 6-year-old is watching the 10-year-old. He's almost 7. So the almost 7-year-old is watching the 10-year-old, and he's following him, and he's getting that attitude of education. So in order to try to build up the love of learning, here's what I'm doing. And the laundry is done. It needs to be put away before this little guy wakes up. Yes, he's sleeping as I'm talking this loud. Good child. But it'll be an hour-long video if I keep going off on these tangents. So let's go back to those habits that we're building up and the goals that I have set, and let's try to bring it all back home, which really was in the essence of, if you want a Charlotte Mason method or education or whatever you want to call it, don't think that it's going to look the same way for everyone. It's the ideas you take and you figure out what your family looks like, and you start implementing what you can, always going back to a heart of it, the core, the foundation. You know, it's kind of like houses. You know, they're not all built the same, but they're still a house, and they still have functions, and they still have basic components like foundation, timbers. Even a tent has still some kind of foundation, you know? So, but it looks like I'm going to be needed, so I'm going to wrap this up right now, and thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments down below. I really like to read those, and I will see you in my next video. Adios.